Alright guys, we have some breaking news in Dragon Ball, and if you stand on the side that you believe Dragon Ball Daima is a precursor to Dragon Ball Super, and eventually the plot holes in Daima will be smoothed out through canon, through Toei or Shueisha in Dragon Ball Super, or Toyotaro will add them in some way, well, it looks like, yeah, that is a pipe dream now, because we have some confirmation here that Dragon Ball Daima is confirmed to be in its own little bubble. Breaking news was just given to us by the Dragon Ball Daima producer Nakatsuru, and he has given us the information that we need to definitively talk about and know exactly where Dragon Ball Daima sits, and the debate essentially is over. Now, if you're on the side that you like Dragon Ball Daima where it's at, its own thing, and are enjoying theorizing how it could fit in Dragon Ball Super like I've been doing in my new series, well then you're probably a lot happier than most about this news. But if you wanted this to connect to Super, well, I have bad news for you. The Dragon Ball Times had an interview with Nakatsuru, again, the producer for Dragon Ball Daima, on their YouTube channel. I'm gonna leave a link to their video. It is in French, so, you know, if you speak French, then you'll know what they're talking about. If not, I'm gonna go over the translation with you guys today. But in this interview, they asked him about the new Super Saiyan 4 transformation and exactly what he was thinking when he created it, how much input he had behind it, all that stuff. Remember, it was verified about a month ago that Nakatsuru is the one that had been the mind behind not only Dragon Ball Daima, but specifically the original Super Saiyan 4 transformation, and he was the one that worked on the design for Super Saiyan 4 and Dragon Ball Daima. Well, when they asked him this question, he said that he did not work on this design by himself, that he actually took a lot of input, and the thought process behind the design specifically, or just adding Super Saiyan 4, the transformation in Daima at all, it all came from Toriyama. So Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru confirms that it was Toriyama, Akira Toriyama, the master, who designed the Super Saiyan 4 of Dragon Ball Daima, which kind of comes full circle, and it's really nice as a send-off for Toriyama, since he brought back a lot of the Z movie things like Broly and redesigned them himself, because he wanted to ultimately make what he thought these things would look like on his own terms. So he's the one that created and brought back the design with the help of Nakatsuru. No, for this time it was Toriyama Sensei who also designed the Super Saiyan 4, meaning that he had greater input. He was part of the machinations behind Super Saiyan 4. He designed it so that it would be the Super Saiyan 4 of Daima, meaning that this is a Daima exclusive transformation. It is something only for Dragon Ball Daima and nothing else. That is why Akira Toriyama brought it back. That is why he designed it. That is why he did everything he did, because he wanted to make sure that this is 100% for Dragon Ball Daima. And if you go through the interview itself, you can hear that he's talking about how it is something only found in Dragon Ball Daima, and it's something that is Daima specific. You have people all over Twitter reading and watching the interview, and yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like Jordan Lee here says, well, there you have it. Confirmation that Toriyama designed Daima Super Saiyan 4 with the intent of making it the Daima exclusive version of the form, meaning that it is only for Dragon Ball Daima. That means, and I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if you're thinking that we won with this information or whatever. I personally think that this is a very special thing that we've captured in Dragon Ball Daima, but it does mean and heavily implies that Dragon Ball Daima is its own pocket universe. It is its own thing, similar to Dragon Ball GT, how Akira Toriyama stated himself that Dragon Ball GT is just another adventure, no more, no less than what Dragon Ball, the original canon, is. So Dragon Ball GT is just as valid. I would say Dragon Ball Daima is just as valid. Look at this chart right here. This is a chart that I'm talking about when I'm saying what these things are: Dragon Ball Daima, Dragon Ball GT, Super, and the Super manga. All different universes, all different continuities, all different timelines, essentially, of different events that are happening to the exact same characters, not to mention Dragon Ball Heroes, which is an obvious otherworld type of story. But what does this mean for Dragon Ball Daima going forward? And I would say what this means is, more than likely, we are not going to get anything from Dragon Ball Daima, in my opinion, in the Dragon Ball Super manga. I don't think that that's something that's going to be basically focusing in on when it comes to the things that were left off there, personally, even though there is a huge possibility that they are saying that the Super Saiyan 4 transformation's only for Daima, but everything else in the story is before Super, even though there's plot holes. But Super Saiyan 4 being the biggest one, and then just Goku never uses it again for whatever reason, which would suck as an explanation. It is far better and more entertaining if it is just its own pocket thing, its own universe, its own thing that doesn't need to link up to anything else. So personally, I think that Dragon Ball Super's manga may touch on the demon realm at some level because of all the lore that was just dropped in Dragon Ball Daima, but I do not believe that they're not gonna be pushing on it from the story where Majin Buu is the king, where Super Saiyan 4 Goku exists, Goma is trapped in that bottle. I don't think they're really going to be focusing on any of that stuff at all, because of the fact that they're going to leave it as Akira Toriyama's last project by itself in its own thing. And in the future, they're probably just going to continue for Dragon Ball Super after Dragon Ball Super Superhero and the Dragon Ball Super manga, since both of them are now essentially caught up to each other. I mean, we don't have the Goku versus Gohan fight animated just yet, but because they're both caught up to each other relatively, I think they're just going to continue with that storyline and show us exactly what's going to happen after that, and never talk about Dragon Ball Daima unless it's in Legends, a video game, any of the other video games, or anything like that in that context. That's when we're going to be getting, I believe, any mention of Dragon Ball Daima. And that is why I started doing the Beyond Dragon Ball Daima, because I thought it would be interesting to have the events of Dragon Ball Daima fit into Dragon Ball Super, but the only way that they would fit in cleanly is if Dragon Ball Super took place 3 years earlier, right after Dragon Ball Daima. And that's why I started that series, and I will continue with that series. So make sure you guys subscribe and like the video, that way you guys are always caught up with all the new videos that are dropping on the channel. This is going to be BlackScape signing off. Take care, guys.